Thank you, Dennis, for joining us today. Dennis is an individual who is very well respected and very well connected in the media world, from World Online to Online.nl to the M7 Group and even to Canal Plus. You have had your extensive input into the media world, and now you have your own consultancy company called Lathuile Consultancy. Thank you for taking your time today and joining us, Dennis.
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me.
Of course, always a pleasure. Dennis, I want to ask you, with your such broad and extensive background, I'm assuming that you have a lot of interpersonal relationships, made a lot of professional friends and personal friends. What qualities do you value most in professional and personal relationships?
I think there's one quality that I think accounts for both of the relationship, both personal and professional, is people are sticking to what they promise that they say. People that are consistent in promising and delivering. I think that's the most important. Of course, for the professional relationship, that's a little bit different because then you agree to get something delivered for whatever the agreement is, payment or delivered in time or whatever. But in a personal manner, that also counts, and that's I value this I value very strongly in having a relationship, both personal and professional.
The perfect saying goes, mean what you say and say what you mean. Have consistency and
Exactly.
integrity.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, integrity. Yeah, we can deepen it and we can make it really more in detail by the integrity of people. Make it really like specific parts of the relationship that I value the most. But I think that in general, when the professional or personal relationship is not that deep, I think that the first things that I look at are the consistency in the promises and the delivery. So what people bring to the table, is that at the end of the day also the thing that they deliver, or is it a very big story and the delivery is not there? The same counts for personal relationships, There's a lot of people that are smooth talkers or very smooth talking individuals that at the end of the day, when there needs to be a delivery, that's not there.
You said you have this distinct, of course, difference between personal and business relationships. How do you find the balance between these two?
I think that's one of the most difficult things. Although, actually, it is difficult. It is very difficult. The balance in between a relation that counts for personal or business. In the beginning that you start to work and you start your career, you're looking at those relationships as two different entities. But at a certain point in your life, you see that they merge more and more. And you see that the borders and the lines that you drew once in the sand are kind of diluting, and you don't keep maybe dumb, maybe intelligent, I don't know, but that just happens in life. You see those things shifting, you see the things integrating into each other. So how do you keep a balance? I don't know. I think it's a lot of gut feel. So it's a lot of interpersonal communication that you have both on a personal as well as a professional level. And there's also a thing with certain people, you have more than with other people, and the relationship can be as good professionally, but there's with certain individuals, you have more of a click than with others, and that's on a personal level. Interpersonal can also be the professional level and more of a click on a professional level. So where do you keep the balance? How do you maintain the balance? I don't know. I don't look at it like a very defined kind of borders or lines between those relationships.
Mm-hmm. Dennis, could you please, if you have so, recall a time where you guys first started off as coworkers, but now this person or this relationship has progressed to one of your best mates or your best friends. Has there been a situation like that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. With multiple persons. One of those persons, of course, you know him. It's that's with Israel. Um, yeah, we started off as people just meeting each other during our work, both our work. He in a sales-driven function, and I was more of the exploration coming from the M7 group, finding Israel to deliver a product that was suitable for us as a company to use. Um, Sure, that I mean, we can talk for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours and how a relationship like that developed. I mean, I guess and I still feel that started off like, there was a click, a business, professional kind of click, because of the honesty that he approached me with and the openness, the willingness to hear a customer instead of bringing something to the customer and pushing it, whatever the consequences. No, Israel is very open and eager to learn from the customer and also interested in the person behind the customer, in me. And you feel that as a customer. I think maybe to come back to the earlier question, where do you maintain the balance? I think that when you get into contact with a company, um, and I have been in contact with a lot of different companies. So, for instance, I had that experience with Oracle. They go for the customer as a goal, as an order, which is fine until a certain level. But you feel that as a customer, you feel that you are in that field and in that satisfaction field for them as a selling company. So the difference between that kind of person acting in that role and Israel for me was an eye opener, because he was like, besides very nice and we had been laughing a lot in the beginning, he's also a very open and a very honest person, and a very good experience. And that developed. Of course, it was not from day one I felt there was a click, but the items we discussed and the projects we discussed developed over the years. Yeah. So
Throughout your extensive career, of course, because you have so many different passions, you started many different projects. And one of those
yeah.
projects that you're most proud of is the Auto-Gyro project. Could you
Yeah.
please explain us a little bit about it, and what were some of the challenges that you faced in the initial phases and still sometimes facing now, and how are you overcoming these challenges?
So Auto-Gyro is a project that is an investment of one of my former colleagues and friends. He and I spoke on a regular basis, and at a certain moment he dropped the question if I would be able to supply them with a website that would look 2022, and because that was the moment that the project started, 2021, 2022. And if I would be able to do so in within a week or 2 weeks' time. That was basically the goal. And I listened to the challenges that were there on the table. I don't think it's wise to discuss all the challenges, but one of them was, of course, the time frame, because I had to deliver a website environment where all the, let's say, basic needs and maybe a little bit more were available for the audience of Auto-Gyro. Auto-Gyro, on the sideline, it's kind of a helicopter, which is by moving forward, the top rotor is spinning around, and that gives it a push up in the air. So it's not the top rotor that moves like a helicopter. It is a rotor on the back of the machine that gives it front speed, and due to the front speed and the angle of the top rotor, it starts to turn, and due to the turning, it has a lift.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I also found that, wow, I didn't know how that would work and why that would work in
Yeah.
that way. But no, that's technically already very interesting to be involved in. And then he said, you know what we need to do for this project? We need to visit the factory in Hildesheim, Germany, for you to have a feeling of what this project and product is and what it does and what kind of people are involved and how technically advanced it is. And so we went there for 2 days, and I have to say then I was really intrigued because their whole facilities and everything was so well arranged and so focused on the top level of the product that I was really like, wow, this is a project that really want to do. Delivering a top product to support a top product, which we did. So we achieved all the targets that we set. We need to be live in 2 weeks. It needs to be on a different platform that it's running now. It needs to resemble a little bit the website that it was, but it needs to be in a jacket or a coat of 2022, ready for 2023 and 4. And, like a glove, it fitted for me as a project because I had to do with people that are really top end of their market and in their products. And I also like to deliver a product which is top end for me as well. So in that sense, it was a one-on-one match for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you measure success for yourself, personally and professionally?
So success is, let's say, there's for me, at least, there's a rational part of success and there's an emotional part of success. The rational part of success is if you define the project, let's say in 10 or 5 or 20 steps from start to end, that you measure in all those steps, that you meet up with all the milestones that are set for each of the steps, which is great. I mean, that's an achievement and that's a good feeling afterwards. But there's a more important part, and that's the emotional part. I was, at least in this project, I was triggered by the rational part because I saw how their production was running on very tight process steps. And, due to that, I was also happy to deliver in tight process steps. And that worked. But there was something more, and that is when you put a project like this in those tight project steps and achieving the milestones give you something more than just achieving the milestone. It's something that you cannot grasp. You cannot take it. You cannot put it on the table and show it because that's with a milestone or getting a milestone or step in a milestone. It's easy to do because that's just the data that you can put to it. But this was more. It was more a the heart that goes with it and the feeling that comes out of achieving that goal and hearing from the people that are involved. So how do I measure that success? The second one, the emotion, is just the feeling. You cannot really quantify that. The first one, the rational, is easy to quantify because if you match all your steps, then you made it to the project timeline. So that's an easy one.
So you have this rational and emotional aspect to it. How do you feel about sprint projects?
Right.
Sprint projects.
Sprint, SPRINT, right?
Yes, these quick, like a week session where a team or any kind of team just thinks of a new project and just gets on it from development to research to like execution all in a week in a very quick, methodical way. Just researching
Right.
it, like.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love projects that have a longer running time. So when the time frame is about a month or 2 months, that's great because those are the projects that have, in general, much more involvement of different parties, so the group is bigger. But let's say if you focus on already running projects and you look at what needs to be enhanced in those projects, those sprints are, I mean, it's great with smaller groups talking about where you stand in the project every morning, 5 minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes sprint talk. It's great. I did this in another project for Ufone in Rotterdam in the Netherlands.
Wow.
We had every morning, I was responsible for the marketing and sales for a period of 8 months. but so it was short regarding the sprint. But every morning I had the team of people that were there. We had like 5, 10, 15 minutes calls, like really to the point, really where we're standing, where do we want to go, what are the steps that we need to take today to achieve what we want to achieve today. And that's also, I mean, that's a great way of working. It's sometimes really tiring because you're always on. It's 24 hours, basically the feeling of 24 hours going, going, going. But you achieve a lot, and it teaches the people in the group, including myself, how to cope with on the spot issues and solve them in the same manner. Yeah. So yeah,
Exactly.
I like also to work that, but it's a different mindset. You have to work from a different mindset also.
True, true. Sprint is, of course, depending on the project and the duration of it, but the majority of the cases, sprints are very short, right? That's why they're
Yeah.
called sprints. But definitely, as you said, it takes a different mentality because it's going to be short term. Maybe perhaps the attention or the emphasis are not being fully 100% committed, regardless
Yeah.
to, let's say, for like a longer project, because the stakes might be higher in that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Definitely. Mm.
Yeah.
Because Dennis, you have been working with so many different partners, with so many different projects. And you talk with a sense of curiosity and like acquisition or like these interests in certain topics. What motivates you to keep on learning?
Uh, my personal motivation is always, I'm a geek. I'm a tech geek. I like things that are meant in a certain way, and when they're all put together like a puzzle, it fits and it works. Uh, whether it's a piece of code that fits into a website and does exactly what it needs to do, whether it's talking to the customer or talking to the back office to see how you drag the data out of the back office and present it to a customer. And that's for me already something, it's satisfying. And that's a simple translation of how to express myself in what drives me. There's a tremendous development there. I mean, compared to 35 years ago, where everything was difficult and systems didn't communicate with each other, and you had to have layers in between layers to talk to other layers, to let those layers talk to the next layer. Nowadays, due to advanced technologies and internet technologies that have been really really brought to a level where it's easy to not only implement but also understand and get things done. That I mean that is something. If you ask me what drives me, that drives me. Those kind of things drive me because of the development in that area and things that the progression in everything. That's something. It's challenging. It's nice. It's some people have that with design and with art, for instance. I have it with technology and things you can do with that.
I'm assuming that when AI was first initially with ChatGPT releasing, and now a couple of months, let's say after nearly a year has passed, you don't see any kind of software that doesn't have AI anymore because everything
No,
is integrating with AI. And how do you feel about the mass integration of AI in everyday softwares for a lot of the general masses?
great. I mean, I'm not afraid of it. It's something that I embrace. It's something that is there and that was always going to be there. Um, I do, however, also have my smaller concerns about it because, relying on something is great, but being dependent on something is kind of, that brings me to a debate point where you are
Mm,
relying or depending. Relying is good to a certain point, to a certain extent, but it's not good to be completely depending on AI. I mean, this morning early, I heard radio talk of three journalists that were discussing AI implementation into the Dutch media world. And apparently, it's like the bigger newspapers in the Netherlands now all rely on their on their redactional AI systems. I mean, it's only 10% of all the articles. I didn't know that, and maybe I'm lying now, but then I'm lying in commission because those three were discussing it this morning. I still have to do my research on it because I was kind of flabbergasted hearing that 90% of those big newspapers rely on the AI being their source of writing the articles for people online. And there's only, and of course, there's a human interference after that the AI system wrote the articles to just check if all the grammar is correct and if it is correct what they're saying. But still, that was kind of a shock to hear. But am I afraid of it? No, not at all. I think everybody should embrace what is happening there and should see and explore what the opportunities and the possibilities are that come from it. I mean, I come from an era that, let's say, I took my grandmother to an ATM to show her how an ATM card worked, and she completely freaked out because she thought that was impossible, that the machine gave you money. It's not possible. So I know how people could react to those kind of technologies compared to what's happening now. That technology it's nothing. It's just money in a machine that you get with a PIN code and your card. That's it. But now with the AI, it's much more non-transparent kind of technology that interferes in some way with some people in an intrusive way. Good. So, but I'm not afraid of it. I like it. I explore it myself a lot with different applications. And I think that a lot of people should. No fear.
Because I was talking with my professor, a university professor, about this. He has his doctorates in fine arts. And we were talking about, with the AI tools that are generating artworks, that are generating videos, how does he feel about it as a traditional artist? I asked him, does he feel threatened? And he said, no, it's like the same way as digital cameras or photography or phone came out back in the day. Before that, people were drawing portraits, but then the camera came to be. And it was just a tool that artists can use. It became another avenue of releasing their artistic culture. So I believe, yeah, exactly. People shouldn't be afraid of AI, but use it as a source of expression and make it into a wider range of their own expressive abilities. Just make it into another limb, so to say.
Yeah, no, it's true. The same discussion I had with Ted Lenson, who's a known commercial director from the Netherlands. And I've been working for Ted in 20 years ago. I've been working for a year and a half for Ted in his new company. And Ted was actually talking about exactly the same thing. And that days, you were running around with cameras big enough to, you would feel like a movie director. And nowadays, you can do exactly the same kind of tricks that we did with those cameras, with cameras that are even half the size of your iPhone or half the size of whatever you mentioned. It's just a kit with some electronics behind it. And the image is manipulated by presets on AI kind of software tools. And, so stepping out and don't want to be there is setting yourself out of what's happening in the society on a development level. And I don't think that that's wise for anybody. I think it's always wise to just keep on looking at what's available and what can we use with it and how can we get smarter ourselves. And instead of saying, no, that's dangerous, I don't want to have anything to do with it. Because I also know a lot of people that do that. Just step out and say, that's too intrusive, or I don't get it, and I don't want it, and it's costing people's jobs. Yeah, okay, everything is costing people's jobs at the end in development, but it's also creating new jobs and opportunities for other people. So, be open to that, see where the opportunities are, instead of just putting the heels in the sand to say, no, I'm not getting this, I don't do it, and I'm running away for it. No.
Speaking of getting smarter, with the vast amount of knowledge that are available at our fingertips today, how, with your specific knowledge that you've accumulated with your experiences, are there any specific ways where you're passing down this knowledge to the next generation?
It's funny. The question on its own is already funny, but because that's applying that I have that knowledge and I need to pass it on to the next generation. Well, I think, and I'm more of the thinking, that my knowledge is ancient, important, but it's ancient. And all the knowledge that is now gathered by people that are half my age or even younger, that's something that I'm learning from also. So am I passing on, or I'm taking the knowledge of the people that are younger than I am, and maybe um, two steps ahead, am I importing that into my knowledge field and trying to make a bigger picture out of it? So my hesitation in answering the question, I think you saw that, and that has mainly to do with that. So, of course, I understand your question, and the knowledge that I have, or the people my generation have, still is valuable. But the moment that you that you put yourself in a seat, thinking that you can hand over that knowledge to a younger generation and make them smarter, I think that's kind of snobbish or maybe even arrogant, because I think that by looking at the way that people are now dealing, looking at my kids, looking at youngers, because my kids are also a little older now, at least 22, so and then up. If you look at even younger kids, how they deal with new technologies and the use of those technologies in their daily tasks, I think we can learn a lot. I can learn a lot from that. And I import that also towards myself and towards the things that I do in many projects that I'm running. Yeah. So am I handing over my technology, knowledge, and my wide technology view? Yes, I do, but I'm not that arrogant in thinking that I have to teach a whole generation on how to do it my way, or give my view on them to let them understand what it is to do certain things in a certain way. No, I'm learning every day. I'm really learning every day. And of course, when you get older, a little older, you cannot delete the years that have been in different companies, in different projects, with different people, in different management positions. You don't, and you won't delete it. But it's not that I'm thinking that I am gonna teach every younger unit in in the business world how it needs to happen or how things need to run. No, I don't have that thought.
Perhaps what I believe is that after considering what you have just told me, is that knowledge, of course, it's never just a one-way stream. Always the level of knowledge or experiences we had like 15 years ago, 13 years ago, compared to what we have now is such, depending on of course, the changeable environment and our own personal experiences, one set of knowledge is never alike. So we always need to have this kind of conversation and osmosis where we are just interlooping and exchanging new sets of information and just making our own conclusions or just learning from that experience.
Yeah, no, I agree.
What kind of or what type of a learner are you? Are you a more visual, auditory, or just experiential?
It depends. You have you need to declare, or you need to make your question a little bit more specific, because it depends on when we're talking about when you talk about let's say a physical challenge or something that is non-business related. I'm very much of experiencing it. Just go read about it, look on the internet, do research, and then go for it and feel how it is. Whether it's hiking up a mountain of 3,500 meters, or hiking for 18 hours, or biking. I did a bike ride from here to the south of France, which is about 1,500 kilometers altogether. those are things you read about it and then you train a little and then you go for it. And on the way, of course, everybody, you can. I'm the type that needs to feel the experience, and then during that experience, for next time, I'm going to do it this, and this different. Some say that's not so smart. You better do it up front, and up front know exactly what you're challenging. But I can explain to those people when I was doing that bike ride together with my wife to the south of France. Google never mentioned that you had like 45 times an uphill on a road of 80 kilometers or 90 kilometers. That was just 80 or 90 kilometers. So, you have to experience that. Google never talks about when you Google Maps or do another application, how cold it can be when you are on 2,000 meters high, when you came from a zero, a base level, sea level, 25 degrees, you go to 2,000 meters and it's freezing, -5. Those kind of things. Yeah, you can be prepared for next time. And and you understand next time that you have to be prepared for those kind of things. We were not in, but anyhow, that is also the charm, and that's why I'm telling that for me, that's the charm of the experience and getting wiser. I mean, getting wiser, having everything prepared already before you do something, that feels kind of plastic, non-experiencing what you should experience to get wiser about something. And of course, I know when people see this and listen to this, they are going to say, "Yeah, okay, but it's also nice if you do something." So I'm talking now only on I'm not only talking about the aspect of doing something physical, like sports or exercise or whatever. It's nice to be completely prepared and go into it. Yeah, I understand those people also, and I understand that they want to do that. For me personally, I like the experience, and I like to maybe afterwards say it was not handy, or I should have done it a little different. But then I at least had the experience, and I had the feeling, and I have still the feeling of what happened during those sometimes crappy hours that you have to spend to get wiser about something. Business wise, it's different. I kind of more tend to the side of the people that say, up front, we could have known this. Why didn't we prepare for that? Then the experience is not going to help you really. If you already upfront could have known about certain things in project and you wait until you encounter them, that feels kind of dumb for me. Because why would you do that? I mean, so maybe it's a contradiction in its own, or maybe not. I don't know. But business-wise, in business projects and in smaller and bigger projects, I would tend to search for all the different hooks that need to be arranged and need to be organized instead of the thing in the personal where you go and do exercise. Yeah, sometimes you forget things, and that makes it the charm of being alive. It gives you also the feeling of being alive.
Fantastically said. Throughout your career, I'm assuming that there were so many individuals that inspired you to become the person that you are today, that you've learned from, and that you've admired their characteristics. I want to ask you, what do you feel, or what characteristics does a great leader have? And how do you embody these characteristics yourself?
I think from the people that I've worked with, I think one of the characteristics is never give up until the moment that you cannot say upfront, this is the point that you need to give up. But the ability to be able to determine that you or go 200%, or you have to say, I tried it, I did it, next project. It didn't work, next project, let's go for it. That's an ability that I saw in a lot of entrepreneurs that I worked for, which I kind of envied, because that is something that you need to be able to to keep a team on the run, to keep the team in the same direction, to keep the team not drifting in a direction that you think might be okay. No, you're 100% sure it's okay what they're doing. If you are okay, if you as the leader of the team are feeling that, you transport, you breathe that kind of confidence to them. You, in French I say, you dégage, you breathe it. So the people that are working in your team, they are also convinced of that direction and that feeling. Until the moment that you have to admit that it's not, then still, without being negative, without taking a whole team down, but keeping the team at the same level, you can switch direction. That's managing. That's being able, and it doesn't matter if you sell toothbrushes or computers or cameras or dreams or a dream factory or whatever. If you're able to do that, you're a good manager. And then, of course, this is really in a very abstract level, talking about what kind of characteristics are important. Of course, it's important how you deal with people, how you're able to sponge the feelings of people and try to come back with the correct answers in providing them with enough attention, B, enough respect, C, giving them the feeling that they worth something in your company, in your group, in your project, or just in part of your project. That those are qualities that you always look for people that work with you or work for you, always looking for those kind of things. And I mean, we can go into all the details about if somebody's good mathematically, or somebody's good in doing finances, or somebody's very good in only running the sales show, or very creative and very, but those are different. Those are more the details of the abstract level that I just tried to describe. Knowing what the direction is, biting into that direction, getting the team behind you, keeping everybody online with that same kind of feeling, and try to all strive for the same purpose and same goal. And basically, in all the projects where I saw a failure, or where things were not running smooth, like there was sand in the machine, sand in the engine, it was, the managing person, or in the project or in the company, that was doubting the direction. You could see that, you could sense it, you could feel it. And people are like kids. It doesn't matter how old they are. They're like kids. When they feel that there's a doubt in other people, they're gonna put their fingers behind it. They want to know what it is. It's not like, okay, but we said we are going in that direction. Should we go in that direction? Why do you doubt? No, people are going to say, oh, what is that? Why are you doubting? Give me a feeling. What am I fired? Is the company still existing? They always think about themselves first.
There's a saying like, believe it yourself and you will make them believers. Yeah, you
cannot. I think that Elon Musk said it, right?
Yes. Throughout your career, have you had any mentors? Because I've heard from many people that having a great mentor, it could shorten your distance for success because you learn so much from that person. If so, what did you learn? Could you please share us with that?
I learned from different people, different things. It was not that I learned from one person everything that I know now. I learned from different people, different things. For instance, I learned from Nina Brink, I worked for at World Online. I learned a lot about being persistent, organized, and to the point. So she has a non-bullshit mentality. It's how it is, and she's straight and she's honest, and she will tell you exactly what it is. If I, for instance, my father was not like that. My father was always with a little bit of U-turns and corners, and it could be a little bit green, it could be a little bit black, it could be a little bit orange. At the end of the day, when you started, you never knew where you ended up. With her, I immediately saw, okay, she's straight, and when it's black now, it will still be black tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Even if you think that, no, I have to say it different. She would be able to change in colors because she was great in managing people, keeping people aligned and all in the same direction. If needed, if needed for the company and for adjustment, she would change from black to purple or orange, but everybody would go and follow in that same direction. That's what I saw from her. Other people, I can mention everybody by name. What I saw from actually, you see it with all the people that are successful or have been very successful, is that they have a tremendous drive. They keep on working. Whether it's working 5 hours a day or 15 hours a day, but they keep on working, and the time that they spend working is effective time. Instead of that, nowadays or during my life, I at least saw people working 10 hours a day, effective maybe 2 or 3, maybe. So, and what I saw in those people that I used as a mentor for myself is that the time that they spent working was effective, and always try to make that time and keep that time effective. And then when you were not working, there's only a handful of people that I have worked with or worked for that I know that were really not working when they were not in the office. Because I think that all these people that I know from my past and the people that I've been reporting to, they had kind of an always on mentality. So whether it was that we were skiing in Swiss or in the United States, if the phone rings, they will pick it up and they will talk. They will answer what needed to be answered at that time for the person that's asking the questions. Instead of that, there's now a lot of people, or I also saw people that, that's, no, I have a holiday, I'm out, I'm not in anymore. And it has been a trend, and I think that it's getting less now, that trend, but it has been a trend to be like that. 5 o'clock Friday, cut off, and no email on your phone, and just for the family, which is also very important. I mean, I appreciate the family that I live with and that I deal with and that I love dearly. But what I saw from them is that if needed, they're 100% commitment to the goal and to what they envisioned as being their company, the company of everybody. Yeah.
How do you feel about work-life balance, and how have you successfully implemented the work-life balance you have today?
Well, to begin with, I live in an area which is not like Paris or Amsterdam or Berlin. So the area where I live in France is quiet. It's the town where I live is 250 people, and that's it. The moment I open my door, I walk into the mountains, and that's quiet. There's no rush of trams and trains and Ubers, and it's not here. So that's already something. If you want to cool down from whatever you're doing during the days that you're active, this for me was the ultimate in achieving the relaxation that I needed also in my private life. Despite the fact that it's beautiful here and the area and the people are nice, did that also give me the extra push to work when you're working, also 100% committed, 200% committed. And what I noticed, I think it's just personal. I don't think that other people have that, or I don't say that it's general. For me, when I stay for 1 week in a city like Paris or Madrid or Barcelona, first 3 days was great, and I'm absorbing the dynamics and the power that it's giving you. But then for me, it's biting me in the tail. It's not motivating me. So the balance is done by, for me at least, and my wife, is where I live, and the way that I can chill the moments that I need to chill, instead of that you're in a And when I say it, I realize that it's kind of a luxurious position, but that is the way that I'm able to do it.
That's a very good thing because when you log off, you're just entirely, you have logged off. There's no
Yeah,
other distractions to keep on buzzing you and just having
no,
your mind busy.
yeah, no, that's
That's
true.
great.
And since 14, 15 years, every year, we at least take 2 weeks where phones and everything, also from the kids, were off, and no
Mhm.
iPads, no 5G, no 4G, no 3G, no nothing. And we would hike in the mountains just like that, from hut to hut, and enjoy each other, the meals, the environment. And for me, that worked great. I mean, I can imagine people that say, you know, that's not going to solve anything for me, and it's giving me more stress. I cannot, I'm not judging that. I'm not saying that they're crazy or that I am the one that's doing wonderful. For me, this works great.
Mhm.
So to find the life balance in that, the life balance between personal and business, yeah, that works good for me. It's not a given that it would work for everybody. I understand that also.
Do you meditate?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, yeah.
Mm. How long have you been meditating?
Well, it's always too short, but I think since the last more aware and more conscious since the last 10 years.
I feel like because you're positioned or located in a place where there's very scarce people and there's abundance in nature, you even like, when you meditate, you feel more grounded to nature and you feel just more
Yeah,
refreshed. So the cortisol levels are just not that much stress and you feel like more spiritually abundant as well as more solid base grounded as well.
yeah, I agree.
Mm.
That's true. Yeah,
Hmm. I've heard that you want one of your missions is to provide affordable e-commerce solutions
yeah.
to companies. Could you please elaborate on that?
That's something that we can talk for a whole day. And so we have to stick to a few key bullet points. One of the things is what I noticed working for bigger companies, when you get involved into e-commerce projects, e-commerce solutions, is that you're in the hands of people that you need to trust that deliver you at the end of the day the product that is going to bring your company, and that's a whole mouthful, but going to bring your company to a point where you want to go as
Hmm.
being the responsible for the e-commerce in that company. What I saw is that that implies huge invoices. 9 out of 10 not interesting for middle or smaller companies that are also interested in bringing their company towards more revenue, making use of the railways or the roadways or whatever we call it, all the channels that are available for those bigger companies that have more budget. And I'm not talking about media budget. I'm not talking about the investment in that you have to make in Google, Apple Store, that you have to make in Facebook and socials to fill up
Hmm.
those channels with your ads. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about uh, you as let's say, a 25-person company that has maybe 3 or 4 different locations, now wants to make a step towards e-commerce and not being able to buy a website of 250,000 euros or 100,000 euros to maintain that website for 5, 6, 7,000 euros a month. Because there's solutions that don't have to be there are solutions available that don't demand the investments that I just spoke about, 150, 250,000 euros for a website
Definitely.
where you can
Hmm.
do e-commerce. There are simpler solutions, and I think that the lack of companies listening to the customer and what their demands and what their question is, and try to translate that in a solution which is affordable for that company, to
Hmm.
let them at least start with an environment where it's possible for them to get something back from that investment instead of just putting the investment, having your presence, and being able to report your presence, whatever, to your boards or to your investor, which at the end of the day is not so interesting. It's more interesting, okay, we invested a certain amount of money, we tasted what it is to be online present, we saw that there's a huge opportunity. Let's see how we can manage what we have and bring it to a level where we can invest a little bit more money, have the environment that's suitable for that little bit more money, and bring it to a point where everybody's still happy with the investments that we did versus what it brings back to us. So I don't know if that answers your question completely. I realize that it answers a part of your question, and for me, it answers at least the point where I am with my company, where I want to be. You know, providing a solution where it comes to an affordable e-commerce environment instead of. It's also nice to sell $1 million project. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not saying that I won't take those, but if you look at the current status of companies, small, medium companies, they don't have $1 million to spend on an e-commerce project for a year. They don't. They simply don't.
Definitely.
So why do we try to push them through the throat? Why do we try to drag them into extensive hourly spendings of very very expensive consultants? Why do we do that? Again, it's nice to have a turnover and a revenue in your company, and I don't say anything bad about it, not at all. But what I say is that not every company that seeks for an online solution needs those kind of projects. The companies that do are well served now in the market with the bigger consultancy companies. The funny thing, however, is that those bigger consultancy companies also consult me to consult them for other companies.
Of course.
And that makes sense because they are more focused on the bigger projects, which is more profitable for them.
I completely understand where you're coming from because back in Mongolia, when I used to work for a company, I've seen many, of course, small, medium, and large e-commerce brands that come up with varying budgets. But because of the certain situation that they were injecting themselves into, the small budgets, they weren't allowing them to become successful in a way. So what they had to do is that they would go into already pre-existing solutions and use their environment to be a sub solution to their main environment. So they'll be like, for a lot of applications, they would become like a sub web app or like a supporting applications. But of course, it drives away from their traffic because they're getting lost in the primary or the larger ecosystem of that. So providing, or if there's any, what your solution is providing in affordable e-commerce brands for every company, it's a great way to inject and boost the economy or just help people with their dreams and ambitions altogether.
Yeah,
definitely. I love that. Okay, speaking about love and passion, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
You know, I always was being a little kid. I always was a morning person, so I would get up at 5 and drink coffee with my father, being a student, and then there was still a lot of time to get to school and blah blah. What drives me and what gets me out of bed is I think that every day, some days I don't wake up that happy clown, but I think in general every day has some new challenges and some new things that we can discover. And it's not that is not a nice story, but it's really what I believe in, and it's also something that I live for. So I don't believe in staying in my bed. The latest I sleep is 8:30, but that's a crazy day. I mean, and that will only happen in the weekends probably. Otherwise, I'm out of my bed at 5 o'clock. I used to work in Luxembourg at M7, and I would start in the office at 4:15. So, and that every day was again a new, for me at least, a new dynamic, a new feeling, a new, okay, there we go again. It's not, what doesn't get me out of my bed is if I have to start, I think, shoot, it's again an automated thing, you know? Why would I get uh, out of my bed at 5 o'clock in the morning if I think that the whole day could run like an automated cycle? That's not challenging. That's not something that people make people happy or me happy. So what gets me out of my bed is the knowledge and the feeling that every day is a new challenge and every day is going to be something new.
Can you tell me an experience that you recently had that you learned something vibrant or new from that experience?
Well, I think we talked about it earlier. That whole AI thing is something, um, and I also talked about it before. You know, by not saying that I'm the one that's transmitting the knowledge that I gained during the years that I'm doing my professional work or my private life, but I'm the one that is having that knowledge, looking at younger people that are giving me the extra input to enrich my knowledge or my and even enrich my day by seeing how they act and react towards new developments and how they interact with new developments and how they are able to make those better. And I realized by saying it that it's a pretty abstract thing, so it's not really a concrete item. Maybe that's what you would like to hear. I don't know. Then I have to think about one specific item, but mentioning one specific item also limits, you know, my explanation of what I've seen lately and what made me, you know, get better and experience the day in a better way. It's not one thing, you know. It's many things that come together and that all together construct something that that you could say is a positive development and brings you further. And yeah.
And for your consultancy company, Lathuile Consultancy, what are some of your future goals and how do you plan to achieve those set goals?
So one of the goals that I put for myself is that I don't want to have 150 customers. I don't want to have you know, I don't want to have a whole battalion of consultants with me to run into the different companies and drag as much out of them as possible, which is a perfect, healthy, capitalistic view on how to do that. Because there's companies that do have that as their goal. That's not mine. My vision and my goal is to work with the companies that I currently have and together construct something that is for both them, for their purposes and my purpose. And my purpose is getting better in the things that I do, getting more knowledge about the things that I do, and implementing that knowledge in the different projects that I'm running. And as long as that is in, let's say, in a scale going up, I'm still on par with the goals that I set for myself. I think that within now and a year, I would have like 5 extra consultants. Maybe not in permanent, how do you say that? It's not permanent employed. But I now have like 2 or 3 on and off in different projects. So I think it's going to be 5. And, you know, again, I like to work myself in every project and be active in every project. And the management of those projects from a, let's say, broader perspective and from more an umbrella view, I don't want to be only the manager that's managing those consultants in the different projects. I want to be myself in those projects. I want to talk to the customer. I want to be at the table with the customer. I want to see what the projects are. I want to have a feeling of what the results are. Like what we discussed before, you know, there's an emotional and a rational part. And I like that emotional also, getting the ratio, getting all the points done. And that feeling Yeah, I like that, and I like to be with my what they say in Dutch, with your poten in the modder, with your feet in the mud. You know that you're in the field doing the work. I like that.
A very hands-on approach.
Yeah, very.
Hmm. If you could look back on your career, what is one advice you would say to your younger self?
Buy Bitcoin.
I love that question. Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Hands down, best
No,
advice. Definitely.
no. What would I advise myself? Yeah, still buy Bitcoin.
I think that's the most important one. Just buy
Uh,
Bitcoin.
yeah, yeah. No, you know, um, do it. Do the things that you do, but do it with your heart, and not on the ratio only. That's also why I talked about doing them on the ratio and with the emotion, but do them with your heart. You know, that's important, and keep on doing that. I mean, that's the first advice I would give. Second advice is keep on gathering knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. Keep on gathering knowledge. And I am like that, you know. I love to get extra knowledge, even in projects where I have nothing to do with that part of the project. I still get the knowledge because it's nice to know. It's also nice to be able to talk to somebody in a project where there's different disciplines and you know something about it. You don't have to know all the in-depths of every discipline, but it's nice that you understand why there's certain things going in a certain way instead of just looking and thinking, okay, and no, you understand why in a certain project something is happening in a certain way, and that, I think that that's important, and that's the advice that I would give myself, my younger self. Keep on looking at those things, broaden your horizon. I still
Perfect.
buy Bitcoin.
That's the most important one. Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Mm, Dennis, may I ask, what motivated you to collaborate with Buddha Help?
I think the biggest motivation was the talk from Israel, of course, and quite honestly, I didn't see the big issue. I didn't see that there was such a big issue. And then Israel started to talk about it and explain it in a normal, non biased way. And then I thought, shoot, that there is really an issue. There is really something that people need to help each other with, and that we can all do something uh, to get somewhere. I know that in the meantime, the focus from Bureau Help has switched or shifted a little bit from one to another direction, which is perfectly fine. I mean, that's what we talked about also before, you know, everybody in that direction, and suddenly say, oh, maybe it's better in that direction, then we go in that direction. As long as everybody's going and you're motivated by the reasons why, then that's cool. And then yeah, I think that was the biggest. That was my biggest driver. We talk a lot about what we're doing and how we're doing it, and he. It was not a question of sold his story, but he, in how we talk on a daily basis or weekly or monthly basis, he convinced me about what he was doing. And in the beginning, I thought, man, wow, this is going to be difficult. This is going to be something that you're going to regret because that might be something completely out of your league or not close to the person that you are. At the end, it's not at all what I was thinking at that moment. Um, and he convinced me of what he was doing was the right way. Not
Mhm.
only to start it and to understand it, but also to give back in a certain way. Um, popular in popular said he would gain a lot of karma points with it, but
Mm.
you know it's not about that. I know, but it is good also to give back and um, to give people the opportunity to give back, other people the opportunity to give back. Because I think that a lot of people, that there are a lot of good people. There are maybe a lot of bad people, but I'm for sure knowing that there's a lot of good people that want to do something, but they don't know how exactly what they can do, where, and what way. And from those discussions that we had in the beginning of Start and Grow Well, So that they're giving people the ability and the tools to do something back for other people. That's great. That's great.
The issue that Dennis and Israel were discussing about for our listeners is that starting from 2024, and it's gonna become mandatory from 2025,
I
is a
know.
directive from the European Union that it's talking about the corporate social responsibility
Yeah,
directive that's going to
yeah,
be imposed on all of the large companies and corporations. So that's
yeah.
the issue that we're talking about, and giving back to the community and society and making socially a well-united community in general.
He told me
Mhm.
that story, and my son studies law in Aix-en-Provence. He's almost done.
Congratulations, he just graduated, right?
No, well, no, he will graduate, but he's now. He did. Well, he. No, I have to say he has his bachelor. He did his master's one. He's now going for the master two, and at the same moment that he does the master two, he's also doing what they call in French the barreau, which makes you a lawyer.
Mm.
And he's studying international fiscal law and uh, well, it's difficult. He does so much, but as a matter of fact, after the call that I had with Israel about this, which you just mentioned, I called him and I said, "What do you know about the European mandatory implication of this?" Well, yeah, and he started to mention all the articles and ta 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 ta. And I thought, wow, that's something that. So it is very important. It is going to be something that is going to be having an effect on all major companies, at least of 250 million plus and more than 25 employees, right? I think
Yeah.
250 people. Yeah, and then, well, he confirmed everything that Israel has been talking about. So I called Israel back and I said, "Man, you're really on par with all the numbers." So yeah, this is going to be something. Because my son could also tell me that they are discussing this in France on different levels in the government now, also.
Hmm.
And with who, I don't know, but he told me that this is something that has the eye and the ears of the French government as well.
Okay, to close off this very nice conversation we had, do you have one question for us?
Yeah, when are you guys going to be active in France?
Oh, hopefully very soon. So, um, right now we are in discussion with the internal team that very soon in the upcoming few months, we're going to be deploying in 27 European Union countries all together simultaneously, all in once. So we're going to be having Europe-wide our platform available, and we're going to be transitioning into a mobility and integration platform where anyone that is, let's say, even from Mongolia, that wants to live in Hungary or wants to live in France, they can ask assistance through our platform that
Mhm.
suggests to them, oh, do you want to have your assistance from your country or the person that is living in France that speaks your language or just speaks English in general? So it's going to be a more inclusive platform altogether. And it's just going to make the bureaucratic system, the integration system much more easier for
Okay.
people that are trying to move here. Thank you so much for having this wonderful, candid conversation with us and for taking the time of your day and just discussing from person to person, just your visions, your hobbies, your mission, and how you see yourself just throughout the entire spectrum of life. And I hope you
Yeah,
have a nice day. It was
you
lovely
too.
chatting with you and very appreciated so much.
Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day. And thank you very much for the very nice conversation.
Likewise.